my friends. Welcome to the Commander's Crypt. I've got an awesome video for you today. Today, we're going to talk about Shanna, Purifying Blade. Legendary creature, human warrior, lifelink. At the beginning of your end step, you may pay X. If you do, draw X cards. X can't be greater than the amount of life you gain this turn. So, anyone that's played Magic knows that one of the most powerful things that you can do in the game is draw cards. And I like this deck. This is a friend of mine's. He wanted me to show it. And so what happens with this deck is, of course, there's all kinds of ways to get lifelink for free so that you keep your mana untapped. And then when at the end of the turn you gain life, you can now tap and draw a bunch of cards. So then you're putting more things down that gain you life, and then things spiral out of control for your opponents. You're drawing all kinds of cards, slapping down all kinds of creatures. Then there's ways to put more lands down. This deck really accelerates really fast. So I'm going to show you how he's built it. I really liked it. It's very strong. So without further ado, we will get into it. Shanna, Purifying Blade. She's green, white, and blue. She has lifelink. And I really like this art as well. The only thing is I wish she flew. If she flew, then she would be super duper strong, even though she is still very strong as it is. Excuse me. So after that, of course, we got Soul Ring, because Soul Ring. Next is Angelic Accord. At the beginning of each end step, if you gain 4 or more life this turn, put a 4/4 white angel creature token with flying onto the battlefield. So this is a support enchantment. You're going to see there's a lot of ways to make life. So there's a Griffin Airy in here as well that makes you Griffins. So what basically happens with this deck is you put all kinds of creatures out, gain lots of life, draw lots of cards, swarm your opponents, but then you make them bigger. It's a very, very good deck. I liked it, so I wanted to show it to you guys. Another thing that I might do, I've said it before and I'll say it again, if my deck has white in it, it's got Luminarch Ascension in it, because if you have that in your opening hand and you play that, that thing's going to be activated second turn, third turn, and now you're just pumping out angels everywhere. Next we've got Griffin Airy. There it is. Enchantment at the beginning of your end step. If you gain 3 or more life this turn, create a 2/2 white Griffin creature token with flying. Felidar Sovereign, because she's lifelink and you've got so much lifelink in this deck, what happens is you're going to be over, well, you're going to start over 40 as it is, and then move on from there. As soon as you get this guy out, you're going to be well above 40 most probably. And if you've got a big army that you put out there later game or whatever of Griffins and Angels and everything else, you may be able to go around the bed without losing your life and winning the game. It's a win con. There's multiple win cons in this deck. Light of Promise, enchant creature. It has, whenever you gain life, put that many +1 counters on this creature. Very strong. Works on Shanna as well. Put this on her. She has lifelink, she hits for 3 or whatever, and now she's a 6/6 and 9/9, whatever. There's, like I was saying, there's a lot of ways to buff your creatures with this deck. Speaker of the Heavens, Vigilance, lifelink, 1/1, create a 4/4 white angel creature token with flying, activate this ability only if you have at least 7 life more than your starting life total, and only at any time you can cast a sorcery. So again, relatively easy. You're gonna be well above that with all the lifelink that's going on. And then again, you basically get to, during your turn, create a 4/4 angel on top of everything else. Celestine, the Living Saint, 1 white and 4, flying lifelink, healing tears at the beginning of your end step. Return target creature card with mana value X or less from the graveyard to the battlefield, where X is the amount of life you gain this turn. Again, lots of lifelink. And besides token creation, now you're able to, that's one thing I forgot to mention, there's a lot of graveyard recursion in this deck as well. So you're drawing cards, you're gaining life, you're making creatures, you're taking creatures back out of your graveyard that died and putting them back out on the battlefield. Very awesome. Now, because you're drawing so many cards, what's going to happen is you're going to need ways to keep your hand. Venser's Journal, you have no maximum hand size. Beginning of your upkeep, you gain 1 life for each card in your hand. So there you go. Boom. More life. More angels. More griffins. Karmic Guide. This is also a graveyard recursion. Angel, pro black. Enters the battlefield. Return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Same thing. You could use Karmic Guide with Celestine the Living Saint. Get Karmic Guide out, get something else out, and on till the break of dawn. Gala Greeters, 1 green and 1 alliance. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, choose one that has been chosen this turn, put a counter on the Gala Greeters. Create a tapped treasure token, you gain 2 life. So that's another thing too. There's going to be soul wardens and stuff like that in this deck so that whenever creatures come into play, you gain a life. So with all those griffins and angels coming in, you're going to be gaining life for the soul warden, which then allows you to draw cards with Shanna. And on till the break of dawn. Eternal Witness, more graveyard recursion. Revel Arc, more graveyard recursion. Voice of the Blessed. Whenever you gain life, put a +1 counter on Voice of the Blessed. As long as Voice of the Blessed has 4 or more counters on it, it has flying and vigilance. So blammo, it's a 6/6 flyer. As long as Voice of the Blessed has 10 or more counters on it, it is indestructible. So flying, indestructible. Once you gain life, put a 1/1 counter on it. So like Soul Warden, you got her out, you got this thing out. As it goes around the bend, people are putting creatures out, you're gaining a life. Whenever you gain a life, you put a counter on Voice of the Blessed, and now he becomes huge, huge. Heliod Sun Crown, he also gives things, lifelink, so there you go. Also, a very good combo piece with Walking Ballista. That would be another good thing to put in this deck. You could just outright win the game with that combo. Essence Warden, Therese Nielsen, my favorite artist. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield, you gain 1 life. There you go. Works with everything else. Soul Attendant, whenever another creature enters the battlefield, you gain 1 life. You have a couple of these out, you're gaining life all over the place, you're drawing cards all over the place, you're making creatures all over the place, and then with something like Blossoming Bog Beast, you gain 2 life. Then creatures you control gain trample and XX until end of turn, where X is the amount of life you gain this turn. So again, you know, you gain a bunch of life, everything gets plus XX and trample for how much life you gained, you're drawing cards, you're just really just spiraling out of control for your opponents. Very strong deck. Selvala Explorer, Return, Parlay. You know, at first I was like, nah, that's dumb. No, this is actually very strong. It does help your opponents, but it does help you even more. Kefnet the Mindful, he's in here because you're going to have a full grip at all times. So therefore, he will be able to attack and block, and he's indestructible. He's a 5/5 flyer for 1 blue and 2. Shabraz the Sky Shark, whenever you draw a bunch of cards, and you will be drawing a bunch of cards, you gain more life, which allows you to draw even more cards, and then this guy gets huge, and now you can start smacking people. So now, earlier I said I wish that she had flying. Well, that's why Shabraz is in this deck. For blue-white hybrid, target human gains flying until end of turn. So there you go. What else we got? Suture Priest, very good card. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under control, you gain a life. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under opponent's control, they lose that life. Nykthos Paragon, very good card, 4/6. Whenever you gain life, you may put that many +1 counters on each creature you control. Do this only once each turn. Very strong. Very strong. Says each turn, so that's during your opponent's turn as well. Psychosis Crawler, this is a win con in the deck. Its power and toughness are equal to the number of cards in your hand, which could be huge. Whenever you draw a card, each opponent loses 1 life. You can be drawing lots of cards with this. So you're pinging everybody with the Suture Priest, with the Psychosis Caller, making all kinds of creatures, drawing cards, putting more than 1 land out, and it starts getting really tough for your opponents to handle you. Scavenging Ooze, exile target card from a graveyard. If it was a creature card, put a +1 counter on Scavenging Ooze and you gain 1 life. There you go, more life gain. But now you start wrecking your opponent's graveyards. Distinguished Conjurer. Whenever another creature on battle control, gain 1 life, exile another. So, Soul Warden, but this lets you blink creatures. So now if you've got something's about to get killed, or you have blink effects, there you go. Wall of Reverence, very good card. Defender Flying, at the beginning of your turn, you may gain life equal to the power of target creature you control. Okay, so you get your biggest creature, then you gain that life, you gain a bunch of life. Now you can draw a bunch of cards and then do all kinds of crazy stuff with that life. Lathiel the Bounteous, Dawn, lifelink at the beginning of end step. If you gain life this turn, distribute up to that many +1 counters among any number of other target creatures. There you go. You gain a bunch of life with, let's say, a Wall of Reverence on one of your big creatures or whatever, and then you then distribute them counters all on your team. Crusted Sunmare. Other horses you control have indestructible at the beginning of each end step. If you gain life this turn, create a 5/5 white horse creature token. So with Soul Ward and these other creatures that give you life when you or an opponent puts a creature down, now you're making an indestructible horse every turn, during every person's turn. Soul Warden, there she is. Sun Titan, what he does is he grabs things out of your graveyard. Graveyard recursion, everybody knows about Sun Titan. Sun Titan's a very strong white card. Now we've got the support cards. Arcane Signet, Exploration. You may pay an additional land on each of your turns. Because you're drawing so many cards, you want that to be able to drop lands. Whenever an opponent plays land, you may put a land card from your hand on a battlefield. Boom. So now you've got all kinds of ramp, all kinds of mana, all kinds of creatures, all kinds of life, drawing all kinds of cards. You see where I'm going with this. Asceticism, creatures you control can't be the target of spells or abilities your opponents control. Very strong card. Regenerate target creature. Very, very strong card. Whisper Silk Cloak stops your commander or anyone else from being targeted. Omnious Seas. Ominous Seas, not Omnious Seas, Scott. 1 blue and 1. Whenever you draw a card, put a foreshadow counter on Omnious Seas. Remove 8 foreshadow counters from Ominous Seas. Create a 8/8 blue Kraken creature token. Drawing a bunch of cards, getting a bunch of counters on this thing, and then popping out 8/8 Krakens. Elixir of Mortality. Drawing cards, cracking it, gaining 5 life, goes back in your deck, draw a bunch of cards, play it again, crack it, get the life, put it back in your deck, draw it again, crack it. Black Blade Reforged, one of my favorite cards. I love this card. And now with all the lands now that you're popping out with the ramp, whoever you put this on is going to be massive. Mirror Shield, equipped creature gets 0/2 and hexproof whenever a creature with Death Touch blocks or becomes blocked. This creature destroy that creature, okay? Swift boots. If it's not Scottish, it's crap. Mirari's Wake. Creatures you control get +1/+1. Whenever you tap a land for mana, add 1 mana to your mana pool of any type that land produced. Gravity Well. Whenever a creature with flying attacks, it loses flying until end of turn. That screws flyers. Decanter of Endless Water. You have no maximum hand size, and it is a mana rot. True Conviction. Creatures you control have double strike and lifelink. Gives everything lifelink, and you're just hauling ass with this deck. All Hammerit's Archive. If you gain life, you gain twice that much life instead. Boom. Drawing cards. Making dudes. Making dummies. If you draw a card except the first one, draw on each of your draw steps, draw 2 cards instead. Boom. Trudge Garden. Whenever you gain life, you may pay 2 and make a 4/4 green fungus creature token. Smothering Tithe. Safe Right Quest, search your library for a forest or plains card, reveal it. Okay, so you can get your duels with that beast within. You know it, you love it. Swords of Plowshare, two of the best instants in the game. Chromatic Lantern, yeah, okay. In this deck, pretty good. You know, when you start getting with commanders that have 3 or more colors, you need stuff like this for the mana fixing. Farseek, that's ramp. Rampant Growth is ramp. Cultivate is ramp. Path to Exile is when you want to gunsling. Arcane Denial is protection, counter target spell, draw 2 cards. Corrosive Grip, one of the best green instants there is. Haywire Might. This guy's kind of interesting. Sack him, exile target non-creature artifact or non-creature enchantment, but then you can recur this back in your hand and do it again. Swan Song, one of the best blue instants there is. Heroic Intervention, one of the best green instants there is. Fierce Guardianship, one of the best counter spells there is. Reliquary Tower, and now we get into the lands, and that's pretty much the video. Reliquary Tower, you have no maximum hand size. Tap it, add a wingding, or now you can keep all those cards that you just drew. Field of Ruins, help kill problematic lands. Maze of Ith, more protection. So that's it. I hope you liked this quick deck tech. This is a neat deck. I like it. It's resilient, fast, strong, gives you life, which is one of the strongest things white can do. Makes a bunch of dummies, draws you cards, and it's fun. So there you go. Hey, if you like my videos, I just broke 19,000 subscribers. I want to say thank you to everybody. I really enjoy making these videos. Please like, share, and subscribe. If you've made it this far, if you're subscribed, you're my friend. If you're not subscribed, you're my friend. We just have not met yet. So please subscribe. I love making these videos. I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to keep doing it, so you might as well subscribe. We have a saying here at the Commander's Crypt, we do not want to just be another Commander channel. We want to be a Commander community. So please subscribe. We've got a lot of things coming up in the future, websites, excuse me, and we're going to have a Discord, all that kind of stuff. So going to get on out of here. We also have a Patreon, Commander's Crypt New Orleans. Please, if you like what we're doing, tip us $1 or $2 or $5. So that's it. I'm going to get out of here. I hope you have a wonderful day.